high attunement to people's energies and emotions. That's what that's what the theme of this video is about. The interesting thing about that in and of itself is that there are two different ways of approaching high attunement, right? Usually in childhood, when you learn, empathic tendencies in being highly attuned, it's for survival, right? It's because you learned that in order to feel safe, you need to attune to people's energies and emotions, usually to caretake, where um, that ends up training a person into dynamics of like codependency and everything, right? So you can spend your entire childhood and well into your you know kid, teen, young adult years being a codependent and being highly attuned to people's energies and emotions and continuing to believe that it's your true to form role to emotionally caretake people. You can, right? The fascinating thing is that there's an entirely different way to approach high attunement to people in terms of their energy and their emotions. This usually tends to happen when you start to see things differently, I would argue, more so in terms of being on a journey or a path of healing, right? Doing the opposite of what you previously did. Previously, you tuned to people's energies and emotions for survival, to feel safe, right? To caretake, to, you know, oh, the emotional environment or atmosphere of the setting is fucking chaotic and this, that, and the other, and I need to fix them so that I can feel better, right? Because that's what you fucking learned. Um, or you can choose to not do that. I mean, two different experiences, of course, and you might not realize that what you're doing is unhealthy and permeable boundaried until you learn so, right? Usually in a professional setting like therapy, right? So this is not black or white. It's not good or bad or right or wrong. But there is a difference between being highly attuned to people's emotions and energies with the belief that you have to caretake in order for, safety to exist. Safety, by the way, it's not healthy. Um, you believe that you needed to do that in order to feel safe, right? That was the survival dynamic and belief, right? But the cool thing is, when you learn about unhealthy, toxic, dysfunctional dynamics in relationships, you can turn that high attunement where you'd otherwise emotionally caretake people. Don't remove the attunement. You can be attuned, that's fine. Be, got that spidey sense going on, right? Be attuned to whatever the fuck is going on. That's actually helpful, right? Imagine being so fucking blind and oblivious to your surroundings that you're just emotionally cut off and or energetically cut off and you just don't know what the fuck's going on. I would say being attuned to an environment is actually helpful and beneficial. You can tell what's going on and everything. But instead of diving in and thinking that you need to caretake people, right? Because that's the pattern. That's what you learned in survival, right? Instead of doing that, you can still be highly attuned, but instead of thinking that you need to jump in as your permeable, boundaried, savior, complex Superman fucking self, you can have the boundaries and you can just watch fucking war zones and battlefields unfold before your fucking eyes, and that will actually tell you everything you need to know about the people that you're dealing with in your environment, right? You're still highly attuned, right? You're still empathic. You're still like, you know, checking in with other people's emotions and everything. Not that you're actually like talking to them, you're just fucking listening to them, right? They're not even talking to you. You can find out so much about a person without even talking to them just by listening to them. Like, without even having a conversation with them. Just tune into whatever they're fucking doing and whatever they're talking about, maybe with another person, right? It's still attunement. It's still being highly attuned, and it's still the same fucking thing, minus the caretaking, the emotional caretaking that you were doing earlier on in childhood in survival. The high attunement is still there. The approach to which you take is different, right? Previously, you were emotionally caretaking. Now you're just like, holy fucking shit, look at this war zone, look at this battlefield, look at all these fucking boundary violations, right? And the thing is too, like previously you joined it, well, maybe not joined in, but you took the fucking hits of the boundary violations. You learned to be the emotional punching bag, right? But that's not the intention this time around. The intention this time around is being aware of the dynamics, right? Because once you learn about toxicity and unhealth and dysfunctional dynamics in relationships, you're probably not going to continue partaking and indulging in that stuff, right? You're probably not going to continue allowing yourself to be the emotional punching bag, right? You suddenly realize that when somebody said, "Oh, you just need to get better at taking the hits and everything," what they really meant was you just need to get better at people being, you know, boundary violation, boundary violating fuckfaces, right? So once you see that for what it is, and you realize that, like, oh, you don't actually need to have even more permeable boundaries, you just need to realize that a lot of people out there don't have healthy boundaries and they use people as emotional punching bags, whether for their projections, their displacements, whatever the fuck it is, right? You're not being the emotional caretaker anymore. Instead, what you're doing is you are attuning, right? You are attuning. You're remaining boundaried because their shit is not your shit anymore. You're attuning, right? But you're attuning for the purpose of understanding these dynamics in other people, as to be able to be like, yeah, no, I'm not going to let these people into my life. Nonetheless, without a fucking doubt, absolutely not taking on their shit because boundaries. But like, I'm just so fascinated by this transition of being highly attuned as to emotionally caretake people, right? Survival, childhood, all that stuff. From that to being highly attuned as to become more aware of toxic, unhealthy, and dysfunctional dynamics, right? It's cool to be attuned, to be like, holy shit, I'm going to stand clear of this fucking train wreck of a shit show. I'm not going to partake, you're showing me who I am. I mean, regardless, you're going to attune to people. I mean, depending on how, I don't know, empathic you are. Like some people like actually lack empathy. They have a lack of capacity to step into the energy dynamic and really feel what's going on with other people. But it's cool how you can transition from being somebody who is highly attuned to people's emotions for the survival purposes of emotionally caretaking to feel safe, right? You're not taking on their shit anymore. You're highly attuning to realize that they are shit. That's the difference. That's the difference. You're not highly attuning to take on their shit. You're highly attuning to realize that they are shit. And sit with that one for a bit. That's funny. And of course, nobody's shit. Nobody's, I mean, people aren't like. I'm trying to figure out the right way to say this. It's not a matter of good or bad or right or wrong. I'm not trying to exhibit that with saying shit. It's more so just like a joke. But when I say that people with permeable boundaries will 100% bring their shit into your life, I mean that people with permeable motherfucking boundaries will absolutely, without a doubt, unquestionably 100 motherfucking percent bring their shit into your life. Because they have permeable boundaries. Their shit is your shit. And they also expect that your shit is their shit too. They see that as intimacy. Enmeshment. Yeah. Pseudo intimacy. It's not real intimacy. It's definitely not healthy intimacy. But yeah, that high attunement to people's emotions and energies. The transition is fascinating when it goes from the survival dynamic to feel safe of emotionally caretaking people. to being highly attuned to be like, wow, I'm not going to fuck with you. Not because I'm scared of you, but because you're just a fucking shit show dumpster fire of a fucking human being. And if I do associate with you, you're gonna bring your shit into my life. It's gonna fuck my life up, this, that, and the other. Really, the latter is all about identifying dynamics, being highly attuned to people's emotions and energies and behavioral patterns, as to be aware of what it is that you're either letting into your life or not letting into your life. It's no longer a matter of emotionally caretaking people to feel safe because you're in survival. It's a matter of learning about a person and either fucking keeping them at bay because you're like, ugh, right? You can smell it on them. Or seeing that they're not participating in whatever the fuck this back and forth, you know, battlefield, war zone is going on. And you look at them and you're like, oh, hey, yeah, cool. Maybe we can, yeah, want to get a coffee? You know, it just goes from there. But yeah, they're both being highly attuned to people's emotions, not being attached, highly attuned. People's emotions and energies. One of them is emotionally caretaking and survival to feel safe, and the other one is to sense dynamics of toxicity, unhealth, and dysfunctionality. Two totally different ways of going about things.